Okay, fine. Yeah, Wi-Fi's good here. Yeah, how long do you want me for?
How long can we have you for? 40 minutes?
30 minutes?
Did I hear 40?
Yeah.
All right, let's go for 30-ish, all right?
Okay, yeah. My record button is on. I am your humble servant.
Absolutely.
I'm all yours.
All right, good. Right, so thanks for joining us today. Rob, are you ready, Charlie? Let's go.
Let's go. 3, 2, 1. Hi, and welcome to episode 77 of Invest in You. So, welcome, Rob, to the show.
Hello.
Good to see you again, because you were on our 8th episode of Invest in You, and that was like 2.5 years ago. So, remind the audience who you are.
I'm Rob Moore. So I guess I'm known as the disruptive entrepreneur. I write books, do podcasts, run a training business. I invest in properties. I just generally love business, to be honest, and happy to be on your show talking about business again and investing in yourself and anything else that means that you get ahead and make more money and make a bit of a difference, because that's what I love to do.
Exactly. Cool.
Awesome.
Perfect. So you meet lots of people, you talk to people, you help, and you listen a lot. That means you can tap into other people's challenges, opportunities. So you might even spot some trends. What kind of interesting trends do you see at the moment for entrepreneurs in particular?
Ooh, okay. So I spend a lot of my time on social media. So I think for the young generation, TikTok seems to be a platform that people are getting a lot of reach on. That's interesting. I think that the education space, so whatever you have knowledge in, expertise in, experience in, or you just love to do, I think that there's way more scope for selling products and services and mentorships and masterminds and educational programs on masses of social media channels, whether it's using like a webinar hosting platform, or whether it's using, all the sites out there like Udemy, etc. Teachable is another one. I think that moving into a paid content model, much like the Netflix model, is something that is definitely moving in the right direction. 20, 30 years ago, you couldn't talk to anyone without having to pay them as a consultant. But if you think 3 to 5 years ago, everyone was just giving everything away for free, and content was just this commodity which seemed that had no value. But the Patreon platform and the Facebook supporter program, essentially, they wouldn't say this, but you could say a Netflix premium content model. I think that that's good news for content creators, where fan funding and crowdfunding can kind of come together. Then traditional stuff, property always wins. I know you love property, chap. So property is still winning, always wins. Obviously things like AI, things like crypto, things like VR, voice recognition for things like search. They're things that I think for a few years people have been calling our trends.
Yes.
Now, I prefer a trend to a fad. A fad is something that comes and goes. A trend is something that comes and grows. And I think there's a big difference between the two.
Yeah, that's good.
So in this episode, we would love to focus a lot on younger entrepreneurs. Have you ever mentored any younger entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I have. I like mentoring young guns with passion, motivation, hunger, drive. No kids, no mortgages, no big bills to get in the way, can borrow their mum and dad's money, internet connection, eBay account, whatever else. So often us older generation, when I say old, I'm 40, we remember the traits of ourselves in young entrepreneurs. So we like to help when we see those traits. So I'd always say to young entrepreneurs, use your youth and your vitality and your energy as your strength, because some people worry that they're not that experienced yet. But when you're experienced, you'll also maybe be a little bit more skeptical, a little bit more streetwise. But the great thing about youth is the energy, the naivety, the ability to not yet to take risks and not have so much to lose.
Yeah, I completely agree, especially with the limitations we set up for ourselves when we have a family and stuff to think about, which others might not have.
Awesome. It's really it's nice.
Right, Charlie. So a question to you, Charlie. In terms of being young and entrepreneur, how is that perceived by people around you? Do they appreciate it or curious?
Well, when we're talking about my friends, they rarely notice it because I have a lot of time to still be a teenager outside of business. But I don't think that's so many of my friends in my friend circle notice it.
Yeah. All right. Interesting. Okay. Have you got any young entrepreneurs in your direct vicinity that you bump into now and then in Peterborough?
A few, I would say. The thing is, we tend to hang around with people like us.
Yeah, exactly.
So I wouldn't say that there's a really thriving hub of young entrepreneurs in Peterborough that I know of. Maybe London, which is only 45 minutes away, would be a more thriving hub. And I tend to hang around with people my age or older. You know, I get mentored by maybe billionaires or, you know, people a lot more successful than me. And to be of that ilk, you've usually got to be in business a long time. But as far as I'm concerned, I'll learn from anyone, and I don't care what their age is.
Yeah.
I know obviously that the theme of this podcast is usually for young entrepreneurs. I get that.
Cool.
But I just want to learn from anyone I can learn from, and I want to give some of my experience to anyone who wants it.
Yeah, awesome. So we also love to help younger people to understand what entrepreneurship is, as well as how to make money as a teenager. That is why we are currently writing a book called just that, How to Make Money as a Teenager. That is what the book title is going to be called, and we just finished a successful Kickstarter campaign, which is linked to our book. So did you do anything entrepreneurial when you were a teenager?
Well, I was taught by my dad to work from a very young age. And when I was probably 6 or 7, I used to restock all the shelves in his pubs, and he used to pay me £1 a week. And he's always...
Fair wage?
Sorry?
Fair wage? I'm kidding.
Well, it was back then. It could buy me a picture of a Ferrari or a picture of a Lamborghini. Or,
Perfect.
That would do. And then I ended up owning them. So that was quite nice.
Yes.
And then in my early teens, I'd work in his pub or his restaurant or behind the bar or whatever. So, yeah, I've always kind of been raised to have that work ethic. I always worked for my dad's businesses. But when I was probably, 13, I hustled a deal with my mum and dad to do all the ironing in the house. They'd pay me 10p for a small item and 20p for a bigger one. By the way, I'm talking prices that were like 25 years ago. So. And also, it's not really about how much, it's about what you do.
Exactly.
Now, if I was a teenager, I'd be doing e-commerce. I'd be selling merch and stuff online on all of these e-commerce platforms. I'd be building a personal brand. I'd be leveraging all of these lower cost and free social media platforms like TikTok and Snapchat and Instagram, and getting big followings on there and working out brand endorsements. There's that kid Ryan who has Ryan's Toys Reviews, that YouTube channel where he just basically, unboxes and talks through instructions of toys. That channel did 22 million quid. There's these kids in their early 20s, KSI and Logan Paul, got massive social media followings. They're having a boxing match. I guess they make 50, 100 million from that. So there's so many ways to make money as a young entrepreneur. And I wouldn't say I was an entrepreneur in my teenage years. I would say I was raised by an entrepreneur, and I was finding, going to your parents and saying, hey, look, I'll iron all the clothes you've got, and I'll just do it for, let's cut a deal on how much. I suppose that's quite entrepreneurial.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's hustling a bit and finding a way. That's great. Did we lose you there? You froze? All right, go ahead, Charlie.
Okay, awesome. So, do you think that school prepares you to make money? Oh, oops.
Yes, repeat it.
You hear us?
Ooh.
Right, Charlie, try again.
Okay, let's try again.
Yeah, I heard you. Do you think? No, I can hear you. Did you say, do you think school prepares you to make money?
Yeah.
Oh, I think it depends on the school. It would be a bit arrogant of me to assume that all schools are the same. I think it depends on the subjects you take. Like if you take business and economics at school, well, probably a bit more than if you took geography and history. Is school specifically geared for entrepreneurship, enterprise, innovation, and making a lot of money, becoming wealthy. I don't think it's geared to that. No, I think it's geared to creating professions and for you to have jobs, and that's absolutely fine. Although there are kind of universities and some schools now that are focusing on entrepreneurship and running entrepreneurship as a subject you can take, and I think that's a good thing. What I would say is, if you want to be a doctor, a dentist, a lawyer, a solicitor, an accountant, etc., then the school system's probably the good way to go, and then to university, etc. If you want to set up your own business and you want to create a unicorn and you want to take over the world and you want to build a big empire, you want to be innovative, you want to find market needs and create products and services that meet those market needs, maybe school and university is not geared up for that, and maybe you've got to self-educate. Books, podcasts, getting mentors, that kind of thing.
Right. So talk about self-education and helping our kids a bit. I saw a recent post about Bobby and an 8th hole-in-one. He's 8 now, right? Does he pay?
Yeah, 8 years old. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Does he pay any interest in terms of what you do for a living? Is he interested at all?
Yeah. So he's become interested maybe in the last 2 years. And Ariane, who's 5, just become interested. What do you do, Daddy? What else do you do, Daddy? What else do you do, Daddy? And yeah, I think that they are quite fascinated by it. I mean, for years I've been telling them what to do and they don't listen to me, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to encourage them to be enterprising, to create value. I was interviewing a billionaire recently, and he said, when you get to do a job, always do more than you're paid for that job. Yep. If you get paid to do the garden, do the hedges, clean the shed, put all the stuff back, clean the lawnmower and the stuff that you do. Because if you always do more than you're paid for, you'll always get more than you're paid for.
True.
So I want to teach my children are going to go down the road that they want to go down. And yeah, I'd like to have some influence on that, but it's their life and their decision.
Yep.
I'd love them to be enterprising. Yeah, exactly. I'd love them to be entrepreneurial, but I'm going to support whatever they want to do. But I want to give them the best opportunities. Now, whether you're employed or an entrepreneur, doing more than you're paid for, you can do that. If you do more than you're paid for, you'll end up getting paid more. Whereas a lot of people are looking for what they can get paid and then doing minimum as possible to get that pay, which is obviously not an enterprising or entrepreneurial mindset.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's absolutely also the worst way to be an employee as well, because you will always be on the back foot and people will not appreciate you for the things that they don't know that you can do.
Yeah.
Great. So you've shared your values numerous times with myself, and I love where you're going with your aspiration, like to help many people become more financially independent. And that's very much aligned with what we do as well. So linked to that, with the platform that I'm working with Charlie at the moment, how to make money as a teenager. We just had that on Kickstarter, and we would have loved to time this interview with you, but we didn't. That's all right. So that is already closed. You have also got your charities. You work with sponsoring lots of great causes. Tell us more about, have you had any progress with the money you've raised linked to the book Money?
Okay, so yeah, I have a foundation which is to help as many people get a better financial education and to start and scale their business. I'm going to probably target younger entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs maybe who didn't quite have the start in life that many of us were lucky to have in the developed world.
Yep.
So that's the focus of my foundation. We're in our 2nd year. I wanted to start it before I was 40 because a lot of people start their foundations in their 60s or 70s. And I wanted to be ahead of the game, not waiting till I'm a billionaire and then wondering what to do with it. But that being said, where I might go with this foundation is quite open. So donating books to libraries, prisons, schools, etc., definitely in my thought process, not just my own, by the way, but other good ones. Subsidizing my keynote fees and going and doing speaking and education to younger and underprivileged entrepreneurs would definitely be something. Even just getting access to information for some people. I mean, if I help people in the really developing world, they may not have internet connection or be able to get online to get the education. Sponsorships and scholarships to getting various resources that would otherwise be paid. So they're going to be the 4 or 5 main areas that the foundation is going to focus
Yeah, so sounds like a great one. So the light pitch for you to consider is we had as one of the options, sponsor an entrepreneur. So that's basically people in need of the knowledge, but they don't have it. So
Yeah.
the book is not just a book, it's like a whole educational program, really, that we are doing together. So if that's of interest, we can help you to get that across to people in your community or other parts of the world as you wish. So just let us know.
Thank you.
Cool, Charlie, over to you.
Okay, so knowing what you know now, how would you restart if you lost everything?
Okay, so I had a chance to start in business and entrepreneurship earlier than I did. Because, I did a few things when I was a kid and I stopped and started at a few things, but really I didn't get fully into it till I was sort of 26 years old. And so if I could go back, the one thing I would do differently is I would start earlier. I would start now. I would not, kick the can down the road, or I would not assume I can't do it or be worried about all the things that could go wrong. I just start. That would be one big thing. The next thing is I would probably start doing similar things because they're what I know. So I love property and I know property. I'd probably set up a training and education business because it's low overhead, no stock. You don't need premises because you can hire venues or hotel rooms, or you can do them live on Zoom like we are.
Yeah.
So I'd get into a low overhead, high margin business like the ones we did. I definitely would invest in property as much as I can. I'd find partners, people like Mark Homer, my business partner, so that we could leverage each other's experience. So for me, it's not about the money. It's about what I've learned along the way. And, I would probably look to leverage social media a lot more. So I definitely have a podcast. I definitely scale up my YouTube channel. I definitely put a lot of content out there and try and gain a good following. Because with a really good following, it doesn't really matter what your product or service is. If they're following you for you and you offer products and services, they're likely to buy them.
I mean, that's a great blueprint that I think pretty much everyone can replicate and learn from. That's great, Share. Thank you, Rob.
Awesome. So the great thing is that you haven't lost everything. So if we set up a scenario where Bobby would like to play golf in Florida or something, and you have to move to Florida, how would you reinvent or expand what you do if you lived there?
Okay, well, we're already going global and probably going to do 5 or 6 new countries next year for our training businesses. The good thing about America is it's English speaking, similar culture. If you sent me to a non-English speaking country like Iceland or somewhere like that, that would be harder for me. So I've got that behind me. That being said, I'm not arrogant enough to think I know the American market. Plenty of English companies have gone to America and dramatically failed because of some slight but big cultural differences. So if I went to America, I would probably try and carry on doing what I'm doing there, running training businesses, what's in demand, like podcasting and social media, and being an entrepreneur. I'd try and learn the culture really quickly. I'd probably try and partner with some locals who've got a good business in America, maybe find some speakers and trainers there, because even though it is an English-speaking country, you can't take anything for granted. But I'm in a fortunate position where I have definitely got a business model that works in that country and is pretty scalable. And I'd also be my son's golf manager and take 20% of all of his sponsorship deals. And I'd do his sponsorship and I'd become his agent. I'd get all of his brand endorsements. I'd be his manager, do the lot.
Awesome.
Okay. So your podcast is called The Disruptive Entrepreneur. Who would your dream guest be and why?
Oh, I've got a few. So I'd love Arnold Schwarzenegger because I just think he's amazing. I think Dwayne Johnson, both of those because they're really big, they're really successful for a very long time and in different industries and niches, which I really admire. Personal favorites of mine, sort of maybe more left field guests than those two who, would be big go-to people, might be, I love Damien Hirst, the artist. I love Ronnie O'Sullivan, the snooker player. I love Vivienne Westwood, the fashion designer. I love Russell Brand, the comedian and social commentator. But they're personal favourites, and I like to hold some good hope that I'll get them in time.
Indeed.
So there's 6 to go for.
Yeah.
If you're listening, guys, come on my podcast.
Exactly. I mean, the great thing is to, like you did now, manifest it, be open about it, and things does come to you. So people do connect and help, and that's a great way. So one of your guests recently on your podcast, I thought he was just a great guy, so I had to reach out to him as well, and he said yes. So that's how it works. That's great.
If you don't ask, you don't get.
Exactly. That's something I try to get across, right?
Yeah.
All the time. Have you got something to share with our audience, which is more our age, Rob, than Charlie's, so it can be really to anything, to anyone?
Okay, I think of any age, developing a personal brand is a really big thing at the moment. It's been a big thing for a while. But I think if you develop a personal brand, you get known for something that you're good at. You put good value about that out to the world, and you leverage all the low cost and free social media platforms, and you build a good loyal following. It doesn't always have to be massive. 1,000 loyal followers is probably as good as 1 million non-loyal followers.
Yes.
Then wherever you pivot, whatever business model you go into or you create, you're likely to have buyers who follow you. You create a good customer relationship. So I certainly think that that's a big thing. Hey, look, I think that generally, if you're educating people and you're adding value to the world, and you're charging fairly for it, there's really no limit to what you can do as a business person. I also think there are huge entrepreneurial opportunities right now with climate change and, sort of the humanitarian aspect. So if you think about all the plastics, which is a massive problem, if you think about in a lot of countries, clean water is a massive problem.
Yes.
So these are all entrepreneurial opportunities. If you can, create very quickly biodegradable plastics, or if you can get rid of some of these major environmental issues, you're going to become very rich very quickly and doing good. So I think that sustainable business is definitely a big thing.
Yeah, and I also think the whole Generation Z or Z, they bring lots of new things to the market that they're interested in. Everything from how they eat to whatever. There are lots of fads that very soon will become very much a market opportunity. So yeah, lots of stuff happening.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Right. So thank you for paying us a nice wealth of things. So paying forward, we like that a lot. Charlie, do you have any more questions that springs to mind?
Putting me on the spot a bit. No, I can't come up with anything right now.
Yeah. So what's the best place to follow your work for people who have not come across you yet? Because we've got a quite international audience.
Okay, so my podcast is called The Disruptive Entrepreneur. That's probably a good place to start. If you search me on Amazon or Audible, you'll find my books and audiobooks. And if you just search my name, Rob Moore, or Rob Moore Progressive, you'll find me on all the social channels.
I can vouch for that. It's great to own your own keywords. So yeah, that's great. So it has been a pleasure. So we have had Rob Moore from Peterborough with us today. And we would like to ask you, well, how do you say to your audience if you like them to either subscribe, rate or review? What do you usually say when you do it? It's not so often.
No, I often don't ask people to share, review, rate, etc. I probably should do that more. What I would probably do is create a piece of content that I thought was share worthy or review worthy, and hopefully people think this is review worthy, so they should review your podcast based on this being one of the better episodes. But
absolutely,
yeah, I might ask maybe every 50 episodes if I really feel like, you know what, that content can really help people. So for example, if I did a podcast on mental health, which I've done a few times, for me, I think the world should know that. And so I'm prepared to be a little bit more shameless in asking people to share and maybe review. Hey, look, there's no harm in asking people to review, to share, because I think a lot of people would, but they often don't think about it. And so you asking them just gives them a little bit of a nudge.
Awesome. So this has been episode 77 of Invest in You. It's been awesome to have you here, Rob, and you are welcome. And welcome back soon for more inspiration and ideas. That was for the viewers
and listeners. So yeah.
Thanks,
guys, and goodbye for this time.
Yeah, goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. Cheers.